How are you doing? I hope that you are good. I'd like to start with thanking the people who have interacted positively with the previous video. Thank you for the great effort that you have made in order to answer the questions in the video. And thank you for your participation in the correction session. Our riddle for this session is we hurt without moving, we poison without touching, we bear the truth and the lies, we are not to be judged by our size. What am I? In this session we are going to begin with something that we have already started doing in our classroom. It is modal verbs. So we are going to talk about some specific types of modals in this session. Later in other videos we will see the different or the other types. So what are modal verbs? Modal verbs, here we have got some examples of modal verbs. Okay, can, could, may, might, must, shall, should, ought to, will, and will. Modal verbs are auxiliary verbs that provide additional and specific meaning to the main verb of the sentence. So here they provide additional meaning to the main verb of the sentence. They are auxiliary verbs. So how do we use modals? How do we form, structure modals? So this is the form or the structure of modals. We have got subject plus modal plus verb. We have got an example here. The subject is Mary, the modal is could, the verb is play. So Mary could play the piano. Okay, so here the modal could provided additional information to the main verb, which is play. So here the modal give the meaning of ability, which means Mary was able to play the piano. So modal verbs do not accept conjugation. They do not need other auxiliary verbs. How? This is how they don't accept conjugation. So there is no S in singular. Okay, there is no S in singular. Example, he can ski. He can ski. We can't say he can ski or he can skis. So they don't accept S in the third singular. There is no do or does in the question. For example, if you want to form question using modal verbs, we don't use do, does, did, or something like this. So would you like to come with me? So we can't say do you would like. So we use just the modal verb. There is no don't, doesn't, didn't, or negation in the negative. So here they can't be serious. So this one is correct. We can't say they don't can be serious. Okay, so they don't accept conjugation. Let's move to talk about the form of modal verbs. Modal verbs do not have infinitives or ing forms. Example, for example, when we are talking about can, we can say to can or canin. Must, we can say to must or must. So they don't have infinitive, no ing. Modal verbs are followed by an infinitive without to. It means they are followed by bare infinitive. Example, she must study. We can't say she must to study. No, just she must study. So here we should have gone the other way. We can't say we should to. Okay, so he could play football. It's not acceptable to say he could to play. Okay, modal verbs do not have all the tenses. Okay, modal verbs use other verbs to complete the tenses. For example, can is completed with be able to, which means can't be used in all tenses. We can't use can in the future or in the past. In this case, we are going to use other word. Must is completed with the have to. Okay, in the past we can't use must. Example. So here are the examples. They can play the piano. They will in the future. We are going to say they will be able to play the piano in the future. You must come early. in the past, we are not going to use must, we are going to use had to. So that's okay. Now we will move to talk about the type of models that we are interested in this session. Here are the... That's okay. So now we talk about the auxiliary verbs must, have to, don't have to, or mustn't. So let's start with the models that express obligation. Must and have to, both of them express obligation. It means it is necessary to do something. What is the difference between must and have to? We said they both express obligation, but there is a slight difference. So must is personal. It means we give our personal feelings. Have to, it's impersonal. We don't, or yes, we don't give our personal feelings. Examples. Number one, you must go. So here we said it's necessary to go. I, the speaker, say it's necessary to go. So here the obligation comes from the speaker. Okay, you must go. It's I, the speaker, who sees it's necessary to go. Number two, you can't turn right here. You have to turn left. It's against the law to turn right. As you can see here, have to means, or it refers to impersonal obligation. It means the obligation doesn't come from the speaker. It comes from someone else. It comes from the rule here, or the law. So you have to turn left. Okay, this is the main difference between must and have to. Must is personal, have to is impersonal. So here the obligation comes from the speaker. Have to, the obligations comes from someone else. Okay, don't have to. Don't have to is expresses the lack of obligation. It means there is no obligation. It's the opposite of must or have to. So you are not obliged to do something. Example, students don't have to wear uniforms to language center. It means students are not obliged to wear uniforms. But if they want, they can wear them. So the last modal verb in this type is mustn't. Mustn't expresses prohibition. Prohibition, it means you are not allowed to do something. You are forbidden to do something. Example, you must use your phone in class. You are not allowed to use your phone in class. It's forbidden to use, or it's forbidden, yes, to use your phone in the class. Okay, so now we will move to do some exercises concerning these modal auxiliaries. So here are the exercises that I want you to do. Okay, that's okay. So I want you to do this exercise. So as you can see here, so complete the sentences with must. Mustn't are the correct, or the correct form of have to. So as you can see here, this is the exercise that you should do. So have a look. So here we have got about 35 sentences. Okay, now we will move to talk about another type of modal verbs. It is advise. So what modal auxiliaries do we use in order to express advice? We use should or shouldn't. So the difference between these two auxiliary verbs, should expresses that it's a good idea to do something. It's advisable to do something. Shouldn't means it is not a good idea to do something. It is a bad idea to do something. It's not advisable to do something. Example here, you should drink drink water every day. It means it is advisable to drink water every day. It is a good idea to drink water every day because it is good for your health. Number 2, you shouldn't watch a lot of TV. It means it isn't a good idea to watch a lot of TV. It is not advisable to watch a lot of TV. So here is the exercises in order to practice these auxiliary verbs. So should, shouldn't. Match the sentences 1-5 with sentences A, E. Okay, are going to do matching here. Okay, exercise number 2. Complete the sentences with should or shouldn't, as you can see here. So should, shouldn't. Okay. Yes, this exercise. Exercise number 3. Write sentences. Okay, write sentences. Use should or shouldn't. We stay. Example. We have got example here. We stay together. We should stay together. Do the other exercises, please. Okay, and the exercise number 4. Write 4 sentences giving advice to tourists in your town or city. So try to write 4 sentences here. Okay, this is your exercise. Okay, in order to do more exercises concerning the auxiliary verbs that we have just seen, you can go back to your course book, page 29, and try to do this exercise, as you can see here. So, complete the hostile rules with have to, don't have to, mustn't, should, or shouldn't. So, try to do this exercise, please. That's okay. Now let's move on to the lesson 3D. Okay, so a refugee stories. Here we are going to have a look at a story of a refugee. So before that, I want you to answer the following questions, please. What are the problems faced by African countries? Why do people in Africa leave countries and become refugees? Okay, so I want you to look at the photos we have got here, these photos, okay, and try to guess what the story is about. Try to make a guess what the story is about. Good. So here you have got a box of some new words. I want you to use your dictionary or use the internet in order to look these words up, to find the meaning of these words. So then I want you to read the story and answer this question. Where does Cour's father want Cour to go? So let's listen first to this story and then answer that question.
Lesson 3D. A refugee story. Exercise 1. Read the story. Where does Cour's father want Cour to go?
Refugee case study. Cour Deng. Cour Deng was born in a country in Africa. Cour was the eldest of 6 children. When Cour was 15 years old, civil war returned to his country. It became a dangerous place to live. Soldiers and armed men were everywhere, and friends and neighbours in Cour's town no longer trusted each other. Cour's mother was a strong woman, and she looked after her family with pride. Cour's father was a head teacher, and the whole family respected him. The family didn't want to leave their house, but after a year, the situation became very dangerous, and they decided that they had to go. One morning, they packed some possessions and left their town on foot. Cour's uncle came with them. They walked for weeks. Eventually, they crossed the border and came to a refugee camp. Conditions in the camp were very difficult. There was no electricity and very little water or food. After 4 months in the camp, Cor's parents and uncle discussed the situation with Cor. "We are refugees now," Cor's father said. "Life here is very hard. We must stay to look after your brothers and sister, but you are 16. You are old enough to leave." "But where can I go?" asked Cor. "I think you should go to the USA," Cor's father said. "We can apply for a refugee visa. Then we will borrow the money for your plane ticket. When you are in the USA, you can finish your education and get a job. Then perhaps you can help us." "That will take a long time. And how will we pay back the money?" Cor's uncle said, "I think Cor ought to go back to our country. He can go to the capital and find a job. Then he can earn money and help us all." "The capital is 1,000 miles from here," Cor's mother said. "It's a big city, and he'll be on his own there. It is better for him to stay here and help us." "I don't want to leave you," Cor said, "but I want to help. I will do what is best for the family." Fact file. There are about 16 million refugees in the world. Most refugees lose everything: their homes, their possessions, their friends, and often their family.
Okay, that's good. Now I want you to do the exercise number 2, comprehension. It means check your understanding of the text. Try to answer the following questions. Move now to the speaking activity. Speak your mind. It means express your opinion, your point of view. So here is a tip about how to speak your opinion, or how to give your opinion. So before you start speaking, take some time to prepare what you want to say. So this is very important. You should prepare what you want to say before start speaking. Try to use new language to make your point. So every time you want to speak, try to use the language that you have just learned. This will help you to improve your speaking. Okay, now according to this, you are going to do the exercise number 3. You are going to role play. Okay, you are going to work in a group of 3 people. Each one is going to play a specific role. One person is going to play the role of a course father. Another person is going to play the role of a course mother, and person number 3 is going to play the role of course uncle. Please try to work in group of 3 people. Each one do one of these roles. So act out the role play and decide what core should do. So say what you think core should do. Okay, anyway, so here we will move to talk about listening activity. Listening tip, listen for mood. Okay, so the intonation, this is another tip about how to listen effectively and how to listen in order to identify the people's mood. Mood means a temporary state of mind or feeling. It is a feeling or a person's specific state of mind. A person can be happy, can be hungry. This is the mood. We can say I'm not in a good mood today, or I'm in a good mood. So the intonation and tone of voice. This is very important. The intonation and tone of voice. So sorry, I forget the camera. So here the intonation and tone of voice of a speaker can help you to understand his or her mood, to see if that person is happy or angry. This helps to understand what he or she is saying. So in order to practice this, I want you to do this exercise. Please listen and choose the correct answer.
Exercise 5. Listen and choose the correct answers.
Okay, put your pens down, please. That's the end of the history test. Before you go, class, I just want to remind you, a new student is joining our class next week. His name is Kur Deng, and he's from Africa. Please try to make him feel welcome.
Africa? That's interesting. I wonder what he's going to make of the USA.
I imagine he's going to find it a bit of a shock. His country is very different from the USA.
Oh, that's great. Another student who's not from this country.
What do you mean, Ashton?
Nothing, sir.
Well, you can say what you think, Ashton. Freedom of speech is an American value.
Well, sir, I mean, he's not from this country, so why is he here?
I don't know, Ashton. Maybe he had to leave his country. Maybe it wasn't his choice.
But why is he here? He's not American.
Where are your parents from, Ashton?
My mother's from Los Angeles, and my father's from New York, sir.
And your grandparents?
Well, on my father's side, my grandfather is... Well, he's from Italy. And my grandmother is, she's from Ireland.
And are they American?
Of course they're American, sir.
You see, Ashton, I know you don't like studying history, but American history is all about immigration. There are people from every country in the world here.
My mother's from Iran, sir. She didn't want to leave her country, but she had to.
Well, exactly, Lauren. We don't know why Cours is here, but I'd guess that his life has been harder than yours so far, and that he will need some help and support when he arrives.
Don't worry, sir. We'll look after him.
You too, Ashton.
Yeah, I guess so, sir. Does he play baseball?
No idea, but you could teach him. Have a nice weekend, guys.
Okay, now we have arrived at the last activity in this lesson. It is writing. So in this part of our lesson, you are going to write a letter. So imagine you are Cours. You have been in the USA for a month. Write a letter to your parents. So you are going to write a letter to your parents. Try to act out the role of Cours. So what are you going to do in this letter? You are going to divide it into paragraphs. So paragraph number 1, you are going to ask how the family are and say that you miss them. Paragraph number 2, so paragraph number 1 is the introduction. So you can start with their parents and then say, I'm really happy to keep in touch with you again, and so on. Paragraph number 2, tell them about your life in the USA. So read the prompts you have got here. Paragraph 3, talk about your plans for the future. So these prompts will help you to write the letter, as you can see here. You can start like this one: dear mother and parents, or dear parents, dear mother and father, or dear parents. How are you? How is Uncle Gore? And how are sisters, and so on. So that's all for this video. I hope that you will interact more with my videos. Thank you for your attention and have a nice day.